I do like clouds. Very organic, lots of soft edges. Not too keen on computer interfaces. I think they're quite ugly and quite tiring. So I like to get rid of them as much as possible. Makes it easier to see the image, to see what you need to do with an image. In the last video we covered getting the room right so that you're comfortable and in good lighting conditions and a comfortable chair and so on. And in this video we're going to be discussing quite an important subject really, and that's the desktop. I'm just going to close this. If I quit Photoshop, you can look at my desktop. You can see that it's very clearly incredibly boring, which is good. We're going to be producers, we're not consumers. We want it nice and clean and straightforward. We can think straight. First off, we've got the computer icon, instant access to all of my disk drives, just the internal drives attached here, no external drives at the moment. Instant access to any computer or device on the network. If you don't have anything on your network, you don't need the networking icon. Have an even simpler desktop. The recycling bin, and here's the magical folder. I have miscellaneous folders like this, MISC, in places where odd files accumulate, and it makes everything so much cleaner and so much easier. We all have files that we save to the desktop because it's such a convenient location. All I do is simply move those files to the miscellaneous folder. I simply drag them to it. They're all still there and I can still get to them, but they're out of sight. So, one click. If I do need something on the desktop, maybe I want to remind myself, then I'll move that one file there, I'll work with the file, and then I'll either move it to its permanent place, or I'll put it back in MISC, because I'm going to be working in it tomorrow as well, or I drag it to the bin. I'm going to put this one back in MISC. And that's how we do it. Nice, clean desktop. You can think straight. I retouch every day, and if I didn't have a clean system like this, I think I would go mad. So hopefully this series of tips will be useful to you. We're going to start off with a typical PC or Mac that I see when I go and visit a client when I'm doing a training session, and the first thing I do is to do what we're about to do, and that just makes it so much easier to then go on and configure the retouching software and to do the training session itself. So I hope you enjoy this. Let's make a start. We're going to be covering Mac and Windows desktops, but we're going to start with this typical Windows desktop. As you can see, we've got a large photograph as the background and lots of folders and file icons. A pretty typical desktop that I come across. The problem with a desktop such as this is that your eyes are going to get very tired very quickly. Lots of things to look at. There's neurons firing all over your brain, making associations with things that are on the desktop. Lots of harsh edges. It's just very tiring. I could not retouch or edit all day if I had a desktop like this. Another problem with such a desktop is that if you do have shortcuts to programs on the desktop, it's so easy to move them and then you don't know where things are and it's just too messy. Let's start cleaning up. I'm going to right click on the desktop and select personalise from the pop-up menu. And this is where we're going to be able to change all of this. This brings up the control panel for personalization, and the first thing to do is to right click on the unsaved theme that we have here, and I'm going to save it. I'll give it a name such as family, just in case somebody wants that theme later on. Okay. Now let's start with the desktop background. I'm going to change it from a picture. I'm going to select on the picture location and select solid colours, and I'm going to choose the fourth solid colour along, a nice mid-grey, and I'm going to save changes. The next is the window colour. This is the window colour at the top of each window, and I'm going to change that to grey too. Next along is to go to the screensaver icon and click on it. Straight off I'm going to go to the power settings. If you haven't changed your computer before, it's probably unbalanced. This reduces power consumption but does compromise performance on your system. If I click on change plan settings, you can see that it turns off your display as well and puts the computer to sleep. Neither of these are ideal for an editing machine. If I look at the power settings for the high performance mode, you can see that it doesn't do this, and so that's the one that I'm going to select here. Right, next up is just to get rid of the screensaver. There's no need for a screensaver on the modern machine. Terrific. Okay, so things are starting to look a lot better. The window colour, the screensaver, the desktop background. I'm going to save this theme now, so I'm right clicking on the theme and naming this one Retouching, and save that. Terrific. We can go back to the old theme now by just clicking on it, and back to the new theme by clicking on that too. So you can see that you can easily switch themes if needed. Next up I'm going to change the desktop icons. I'll show you why in a minute. I'm going to make sure that computer is ticked, that network is ticked, I make sure the recycle ticked and the control panel unticked, and apply that. Okay. And I'm just going to close this window now. So there we have it, much tidier desktop just from the color changes, but of course all of these icons are still here and spread across. So I'm going to right click on the desktop and I'm going to change the view to auto arrange icons, and that moves everything into the left hand side. I'm going to move the recycle bin up underneath network, and I'm going to create a folder. Right click on the desktop, new folder, and this is the folder that we're going to rename as MISC for MISC, miscellaneous. Okay, and then I'm going to move that folder underneath the recycling bin. So I've got my 4 icons in the top left hand corner that I want to keep. Now it's time to decide what to do. So I'm going to move the files that I want to keep to MISC. This is a good chance to tidy up your desktop and put the files that I don't need into the recycling bin. Okay, now we have some program shortcuts here of commonly used programs. I'm going to put these in the right place, and that's down at the bottom on the taskbar. So I'm pinning that to the taskbar. So drag, wait till the pin to the taskbar label appears, and then let go of the mouse. And that puts the programs commonly used on the taskbar, and they don't move from there. Okay, I'll finish cleaning up. I'll put the ones that I don't need in the bin and move everything else to the MISC folder. I'm just left clicking and dragging over the icons and letting go when they hover over the MISC folder. That's terrific. Nice clean desktop. Next up, we're going to do something similar for this Mac desktop. Slightly different procedure. I'm going to go to an empty space and right click and then select change desktop background. Go to solid colors and select this mid-grey backdrop here called solid grey medium. That's a good one. Okay, go to Screensaver, and I'm going to select Never. Never. Okay, very good. Next I'm going to go to the Apple icon in the top left hand corner of the window, and I'm going to select System Preferences. Inside here I'm just going to select Energy Saver, and this is where we're going to change the power settings. I'm going to make sure that we're on the power adapter part itself, in other words when it's plugged in, and I'm going to turn the display off after Never. Okay, so that stops the display from powering down. Next is to change the put hard disk to sleep when possible. I'm unticking that. We don't want our disks falling to sleep halfway through an edit. It'll delay our resumption of the edit. Terrific. I'm not going to change the battery here. I'm going to leave that as is. We want those power savings if you're on battery. Okay, let's close this now. Okay, let's deal with the shortcut to commonly used programs here. Unlike Windows, if I move or delete these shortcuts after I drag them to the dock, I may lose access to them. So we've got a slightly different way of dealing with shortcuts here. I'm going to select these existing ones and just simply put them in the trash can. Next I'm going to go to the Spotlight search and type in the name of the programs that I want to add to the dock. If I type in Photoshop, it brings up Photoshop and Lightroom. Just simply click and drag the icon itself to the dock, wait for the dock to appear, and then maneuver into place. Next I'll search for Bridge, which is another program that I use quite a lot. Just click and drag. I like them in a certain order. There we go. Terrific. So we've closed that now, and now to create our MISC folder. By the way, if you don't have a mouse with a right hand mouse button, you can simply press the Control key and left click on the desktop. So do that now and select New Folder. The title is there already selected. If I start typing, it'll type over it. So I'm just going to simply type MISC. And that folder is now ready for things to be dragged into. So I'm just going to select all of these things and put them into there. Those as well. I'm going to put that in the trash can. Terrific. Just move that over there. And that's it. A nice clean desktop. Differences between Windows and Macs are much less obvious these days. I'm happy retouching with either. I've got no preference. They each get 5 out of 10. I hope you found that useful. By having a clean desktop, it just makes life so much easier. The pictures are where they should be, on a dedicated drive or in a dedicated folder. The way is clear to work on the next job or the next series of images. There's no hangover. It makes moving images through the system so much easier. Okay, we'll get more serious in the next video. We'll start configuring our imaging software so that we're ready to do some real work, preparing for editing, preparing for retouching. See you then.